Terry Rozier, it's been reported he made $160 million in his NBA career, but somehow just a few years ago had an $8 million tax lien from the IRS in 2023. And again, this is where and I know he's a veteran, but I'm talking about these young people, and we give them all this money, and they mismanage it. They don't understand how to pay taxes, or they turn everything over to someone else, and things fall through the cracks. But I think we're getting at the source of what perhaps incentivized Terry Rozier to gamble. And then someone sent me this, or I saw this over social media. James Harden last night, his over-under was 20 and a half. He had 20 points at halftime. Did
Hmm.
not score another point. And again, I don't think we would be focusing on this unless there was this scandal going on in the NBA. But we're going to be evaluating the NBA through this lens the entire season, which I don't think is a good thing. Uh, Paul, I'm going to come to you first because you think this gambling thing is going to escalate and perhaps really, really damage the NBA. Why do you think it's going to escalate, and just how unhealthy is it going to be with all of us evaluating every aspect of the NBA through a gambling lens?
Yeah. So Rozier and what Chauncey did, basically throwing a game at innocent until proven guilty. But I think enough video evidence is there to suggest that there's some wrongdoing. I just think these are two people that they're starting with. I think there's massive names in it. And will we ever hear who those names are? I'm not sure. This might be a message. Stop what you're doing. We're starting with these guys. One's a former player. One is an irrelevant player for the most part. And we're coming for you. And you have to stop. And your whole entourage has to stop. But I do think more will be uncovered at the mid-level. Small to mid-level, I think we may hear more coaches. I think we may hear more refs. Donahue was on Patrick Bet-David the other day. I haven't had a chance to listen to him. I want to get into that because if anybody knows, he knows. And there's a lot of truth. And even if this didn't happen last week, there's a lot of us that are aware of what happened with James Harden last night. And there is 100% suspicion, basically, across the league. As it relates to Terry Rozier, and on my platform, I did something last week that spoke to people don't understand what their financial situation is, and to suggest that he made $100 million, or whoever the player is, $100 million. How could this? Why would they do it for 200? We don't know who or what has their hooks into them. And here's one last final thought. People don't understand, and I've owned many businesses. It's very difficult to run a business and manage all your taxes. You need to have professional people around you. The jock tax is significant. These guys, the NBA 32 teams, you actually have to pay taxes in some 27 to 29 states. And if you don't have somebody managing your money, before you know it, you owe taxes in the states that you performed a service. And they're coming for you. Do that enough times over and over without addressing it, it stacks up. And if I had to guess, that's part of what the issue is here. And then there's the problem with these guys trusting people. First of all, the lack of knowledge and sincerity about doing it the right way. But then the trusting people and turning it over, I think there's something real there. And I think there's a lot of people like Terry Rozier that are behind like that.
I agree with you. Particularly, they come into the NBA and professional sports so young that they have to trust someone. And generally speaking, they're agents. Because again, I've been represented by the biggest agencies, CAA and things like that. And there's a machine that they put you in. And the next thing you know, hey, they turn you over to this person's going to pay all your bills. You got homes in 2 or 3 locations, and this person or this group is going to manage paying your electric bill, your gas bill, your mortgage, your this and that. And it's a group of people you're not that familiar with, but your agent says you should trust them. And again, not all of them are trustworthy. And you become so dependent on others to handle things that a normal person, him and his wife have to handle themselves, and they actually know the details. That's how you get in and out over your head. And by the time you buy a house for your mama here, buy a house for your baby mama here. Paul, the thing you said that I was not unfamiliar, or I was not familiar with, is you're saying that a pro athlete that plays and performs in different cities may end up owing money in different cities, even though a guy's drawing his check from the Dallas Mavericks. Are you 1,000% sure of that? I'm not questioning you, but that is something new I'm learning.
Yeah, and it is in that way in business too. It's where you perform the service. So I had a business in Michigan and in Florida. What I did in Michigan is not relevant to Florida, and what I do in Florida is not relevant to Michigan. It's where the service was performed, sold, and collected. So they're performing and traveling around. You can look it up on ChatGPT. You can look at it. It's readily available out there from very reliable sources, that they have to pay different tax rates in different cities that they perform the service in. And there's a lot of people not aware of that. And it can get away from you fast. So if you're not locked in with the right people, or you don't think something like that is serious enough to pay attention to, well, $8 million can happen really quick, making that kind of money.
Happen real quick. And then you got property taxes because you own property in 2 or 3, 4 different locations. Yeah. It's amazing. Paul,
it's a lot.
I'm not Paul. Scap, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, let me just say this. If James Harden is running around, or any other player at this stage, affecting any kinds of prop bets with the visibility that's on it right now, and the federal probe that's ongoing, it is undeniable madness, idiocy. But look, never underestimate stupid, okay? Because Harden might have made over $300 million on the court, but this guy doesn't know how to spend it, more than likely, for a guy who allegedly one time had his jersey retired in a strip club for dropping $1 million in one night. Who knows how quickly he singed through those hundreds of millions of dollars. Look, Mike Tyson made a purported $600 million in his boxing career and was bankrupt in 2003. So really anything is possible at this point. And to Paul's point, I think this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think there is a litany of names that the feds have that may or may not come out, because look, I don't put anything beyond the NBA to cover certain things up. I think they have in the past. I think they can again, but I think there are a lot of high profile players that have some kind of involvement in this.
Well, and this is my area of expertise. If you hang out in a strip club, you're going to run into a lot of people that are into gambling. You're going to run into, again, these players. How did they get connected to the Italian mafia? Because if you're sitting inside a strip club, there's like a 30 to 50% chance it's owned by an Italian mobster. And you become friends with those guys. And the next thing, and they're all interested in gambling, and they're all interested in inside information on gambling. And, you can turn on any of these NBA podcasts, from Gilbert Arenas to Carmelo Anthony, and these guys love to tell stories about how, we went to the strip club after, and that's how we bonded as a team, and blah, blah. And it sounds like I'm beating up these guys, but I know it because I've experienced it myself. You've listened to me talk about myself, and so I've made all these mistakes. I'm just trying to pass on to these young people. You don't have to make them. You can learn from my mistakes. You can learn from these athletes. Guys, help us grow the Fearless Army. Pound that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with all your fearless friends.